Hello, and welcome to Vvork. I'm Brian Watrous. This is the second in a 10-part video series in which we're exploring how to build a Vcenter orchestrator environment on top of VMware Fusion. In the previous video, we introduced the goals of the project, and now in this video, we'll be taking a look at how to download the software that we'll need to build our environment. As you can see, there are several different pieces of software that we'll need to download. We'll be downloading VMware Fusion, VMware Esxi, VMware Vcenter Server virtual clients, and in addition to that, we'll be downloading the Vsphere Client, along with the VMware Vcenter Orchestrator appliance. In order to download the software, you'll first need to go to my.vmware.com. As you can see, I've already gone here, and I'm at the login prompt. If you do not already have an account at my.vmware.com, you can register a new account by clicking on the Register tab. So I'll log in using my account. And the first piece of software that we'll go look for is VMware Fusion. So we'll click on Downloads, All Products, and we can search using the various tabs down below, but to jump right to VMware Fusion, I'll simply type VMware Fusion. Specifically in my VCO environment, I'm building the environment on top of VMware Fusion 6 Professional. There's nothing in the professional version per se that's necessary for building this environment. You could just as easily have used VMware Fusion. And alternatively, if you're not running on a Macintosh platform such as I am, if you're running instead on a Windows platform or a Linux platform, you should be able to create the same type of VCO environment on top of VMware Workstation. But again, on top of my Macintosh, I'm going to be downloading Fusion 6 Professional. Click the search button. As you can see here, there are a variety of versions of Fusion available for download. In my lab environment, I happen to have built the VCO environment on top of VMware Fusion 6.0.3. Now, that happens to be the release I'm using. If you see a more up-to-date version of Fusion when you view this video, it is very likely that that newer version will work equally well, and in fact will have enhancements that will make it better than the 6.3.0 that I'm running today. So go ahead and download whatever the latest version of VMware Fusion happens to be. Now I've already done that, so I'm going to skip that part of the download, and instead I'm going to go back to Downloads, All Products, and the next set of software that I need to download is the Esxi server software. Now, Esxi is part of VMware vSphere, so I'll go to the Download Components page. And as you can see, this software is arranged by the different editions of vSphere, such as Essentials, Essentials Plus, Standard, Enterprise, and Enterprise Plus. I'm going to go ahead and download the Enterprise Plus version of the vSphere product line. You could conceivably download any of these, but I just happen to be downloading Enterprise Plus. Enterprise Plus will work with the 60-day evaluation license that we're using. So in here, we are looking for VMware Esxi. Specifically, we're going to download 5.0.0 Update 1. We'll do so by clicking on Go to Downloads. And if we scroll down, as you can see, there are different potential things that we can download. In this particular case, what we're going to be downloading is an ISO for Esxi, and we are going to actually go ahead and download the version that includes VMware Tools. Now we can either click on Download Now or Download Manager. I'm going to use the Download Now option. And when I do so, as you can see, the software is currently being downloaded. Now, obviously, this will take a bit of time, so I will pause the video and we'll resume shortly when the download is complete. Now that the download of Esxi server is completed, the next piece of software that we need to download is the Vcenter server appliance. So to download that, we could go back to the Downloads menu and work our way back through all products. Instead, I'll go to the breadcrumb trail. Currently, we're in the page for Esxi. I'm going to go back one level to Vsphere. Again, we see our different editions such as Essentials, Essentials Plus, Standard, Enterprise, and once again, here's Enterprise Plus. And the next component that we're going to install is VMware Vcenter Server 5.5 Update 1A. So once again, I'll click on Go to Downloads. Now on this page here, we want to be a little bit careful because there are different versions of Vcenter. So there's the version of Vcenter that runs on top of Windows, which is this download section here. And then there's the Vcenter Server Virtual Appliance. Now, because of the design of this environment is meant to reduce the size and the licensing costs involved, we're going to use the appliance. And as you can see here, there are different versions of the appliance that we can download. Now we could download the separate components that you see here, but a quicker, easier way is to just download the OVA file. So we'll click on Download Now once again. We'll accept the license agreement and click the Accept button. And as you can see, once again, we're downloading the next piece of software. Once again, I will pause the video, and when this download's complete, we'll resume. Now that the Vcenter server appliance has been downloaded, we'll scroll back up. We'll go to the breadcrumb trail, click on Vsphere. Once again, we'll scroll down to Enterprise Plus. And the next piece of software that we're going to download is the Vsphere Client. Now, try as you might, if you go looking through this list here, you're not going to see the Vsphere Client. The Vsphere Client install images can be found either under the Esxi server section or the Vcenter server section. So let's go back into the Vcenter server section. And if we scroll down, we should be able to find the Vsphere Client. And there it is. So the Vsphere Client is the next component that we're going to install. So I'll click on Download. Once again, we will accept the license agreement. Click the Accept button. And then a few moments later, the download begins. And as before, it'll take a little bit of time to download the software. So I will pause the recording for the moment and return to you when the download's done. Now that the Vsphere Client has been downloaded, the last software component to download is the VCO appliance itself. So once again, we'll scroll back up. We'll go to the breadcrumb trail. We'll click on VMware vSphere. And then we're going to look for Orchestrator. Again, going to Enterprise Plus, since that's where I've been downloading the other software. Like the Vcenter server, there are two versions of the Orchestrator server. One version of the Orchestrator server runs on top of Windows. The version that we're going to use, on the other hand, is the Vcenter Orchestrator appliance. That is a virtual appliance that happens to be running Linux inside. So again, we'll go to the Vcenter Orchestrator appliance download page. And like the Vcenter appliance that we saw before, you can either download the components of the VCO appliance individually, or you can simply download the entire thing via the OVA file. So we'll select the OVA file. We'll click Download Now. Once again, we'll accept the license agreement. We'll click the Accept button. And our software once again starts to download. Now this time, instead of pausing the video, there's one other thing I wanted to show you here. This next step is entirely optional, but you may find it useful. I'm going to go to my Downloads folder and open up the folder itself. And as you can see, I have the various pieces of software that I've been downloading, the Esxi server, the Vcenter server, the Vsphere Client, and currently we're still downloading the VCO client, the VCO appliance. The reason why I'm coming here is instead of leaving these files in the downloads folder. This downloads folder on my machine is cleaned out because I cleaned it out before starting this video recording. Your downloads folder is quite likely going to have a number of other downloaded files in here, and it can get a little confusing keeping track of these 4 files amongst all those others. So what I'm going to end up doing here, let me fire up another Finder window. What I've already done in my Documents folder, in the folder where Fusion creates its virtual machines, I've created a folder titled ISOs and OVFs, since those are the files I was just downloading. I'd done this previously for Vsphere 5.5 Update 1. We're now downloading the same equivalent software for Update 1.a. And as you can see, I've created a separate folder for each of the pieces of software that we've downloaded. And I'm simply going to copy these files into those folder locations to make it easier to find. Again, that step's entirely optional, but it can be a nice way to organize your files so that later on, when we need those files, they'll be readily available and not hiding somewhere down in the Downloads folder. Now that we've downloaded the various software components that we will be using to build our vCenter orchestrator environment, that concludes our second video in this 10-part video series. In the next video, we will see how to build the DNS server.